Amy?
Yeah?
Where are we?
How am I supposed to know? I can't see anything.
Neither can I, but I sure can smell something. Ew! It stinks in here. I like the ocean smell a lot better.
What's that? It sounds kind of like a bunch of sheep and someone talking to them.
That's weird. Who talks to sheep?
Let's find out.
Holding her hands out in front of her, Amy took a step forward in the darkness.
Ouch!
She had bumped into what felt like a big wooden wall with splinters. Feeling around the rough and knobbly surface, she suddenly realized what she had found.
Chris, it's a door. Help me give it a push.
Together they pushed, and the heavy door opened a few inches, allowing some light to come in. Instantly, they felt the cool, refreshing air on their skin.
Hey, we're in a shed. Like the one in your backyard.
Yeah, but mine doesn't stink this bad.
Suddenly, the door swung wide open. There in the doorway was the silhouette of a big man who was looking over his left shoulder. "All right, me sheep. Time for a little haircut now. You'll be staying right here whilst I fetch me shears from the shed. Won't be a moment. Ho, ho, ho."
Oh no, he's coming in here. What if he finds us?
Chris and Amy frantically began looking for some place to hide when the farmer suddenly turned around and looked up in the sky.
What's he doing?
I don't know, but let's sneak out while he's looking away.
They darted behind the farmer and hid on the side of the shed.
It sounds like an airplane's coming.
Children, don't hide, or you'll miss something very, very special.
Mentor, where are you?
I'm over here with the sheep. In fact, I'm one of the sheep.
Which one?
Well, it's no fun if I'm telling you. Guess.
The one with the black face and white woolly coat?
Good job, Chris.
It wasn't very hard. You all have black faces and white woolly coats.
You're hairy, Mentor.
Hairy? Yes, indeed. And it's this hair that makes all the clothing for the people of this land, Amy.
What is this land?
Northern Ireland, of course. Londonderry, to be specific. Isn't it beautiful? It's 1932, in case you wanted to know, and it's springtime. May, to be exact.
Just then, Amy and Chris saw an airplane flying very low and coming right at them.
Oh my gosh! I think it's gonna crash into us!
Hurry! This way!
As they scurried clear, the plane zoomed right past them, barely as high as the roof of the shed. Amy caught a glimpse of the pilot, a woman who smiled and waved at her.
Chris! The pilot smiled at me! She was wearing the same hat that
Look!
The two children watched in wonder as the airplane bounced and hopped and rolled to a stop on the green, open pasture. The farmer ran quickly toward the airplane.
Do you think the sheep man knows the pilot?
The pilot climbed out of the cockpit, stepping down onto the wing of the airplane. With both hands, she pushed her goggles up on top of her head and removed them along with her leather flight cap. Then, as the airplane's propeller slowed to a stop, she set cap and goggles down on the wing. Looking up, she was greeted by the sheep farmer, smiling broadly.
Hello. Where am I?
"Why, in Gallagher's pasture, ma'am. Have you come far?"
Oh, not so very far. Just America.
"America? Oh, you must be kidding, ma'am. You crossed the Atlantic Ocean by yourself?"
Yes, I left on May 20th from Newfoundland.
Children, even though she looks tired, you can see how proud she feels by the expression on her face.
How come she's so proud? Is it because she landed on a field instead of a runway?
Not quite, Chris. You have just witnessed one of the greatest achievements in history. Amelia Earhart, at just 34 years old, is the first woman to fly all the way across the Atlantic Ocean by herself. Not only that, but she just set a record for crossing it in the shortest time. Before today, it was thought that only men were able to be solo pilots, especially on such long journeys. Ms. Earhart proved them wrong. In fact, President Hoover and many others will be presenting her lots of awards when she gets back home. She truly is a great woman.
Wow, that's cool.
After such a long trip, Miss Earhart, you'll have a bit of an appetite, I'll wager.
Well, I did have some soup and a can of tomato juice on the way.
Oh, for shame. There's hardly enough to sustain a new world record holder. Come with me, lass. I'll fix you something proper up at my house.
Chris, look! The sheep man's taking her up to the farmhouse. Let's go look at the plane.
Yeah!
Chris and Amy raced over to the airplane. As they approached it, they were struck by its beauty. Its silver skin shone brilliantly in the sunlight. Its wooden propeller gleamed.
What does that say?
Chris was trying to read the two words painted in black under the cockpit.
It says Lockheed. Lockheed. Vega.
Lockheed Vega. I like the sound of that.
What is that sound?
As Amy and Chris turned around, they saw a dozen men with hundreds of sheep moving up the path toward the little cottage. They were about as far away as home plate to center field in a baseball stadium. The men were looking at the Lockheed Vega in wonder. And one of them called out,
You there, lassie! You too, Junior!
Chris, they're talking to us.
What is this you've brought to Gallagher's farm?
What do we do? He sounds angry.
Amy and Chris frantically turned around, only to see the sheep with the black face and white woolly coat.
Mentor, what do they want from us? We didn't do anything wrong. We were just...
Calm down, children. These men aren't angry, just curious. Unless I miss my guess, they're here to shear their sheep with Mr. Gallagher. Imagine their surprise to find an airplane landed smack dab in the middle of their neighborhood.
Still, I don't think I want to stay and answer a lot of questions.
Well then, you know the way home.
Hold still and don't you be going nowhere. We'll be having a word with you two.
Hurry, they're almost here. What do you need to do?
Close our eyes and imagine?
Precisely.
Chris grabbed the black leather flight hat that Ms. Earhart had put on the airplane wing.
Here, Amy.
Together, he and Amy held the hat with both hands.
Good luck getting sheared, Mentor.
Thanks, children. Sheared? Sheared? Oh, dear.
The two children closed their eyes.
I'm picturing myself back in the barn behind your house, right next to the wooden horse cart near the hat.
Me too. I can see the blue baseball hat with the D on top.
In that instant, Chris and Amy found themselves back in the old barn facing each other and holding the black leather cap which Amy had wanted to try on.
Wait, are we? I mean, what just...
Chris, we're back! Can you believe it? That was so cool.
Wait, I hear an airplane.
Amy and Chris dashed out the big front doors. They searched all around the sky, but there was no plane to be seen. Puzzled, they looked at each other for a second or two, and then they smiled.
Christopher! Amy!
Uh-oh.
There you are. Have you been in that barn this whole time?
No,
Yes,
Mrs.
Mom.
Brown.
Yes? No? Which is it?
Well, We found some really neat stuff in the barn and...
Well, you have some really neat stuff in your room that needs unpacking. I could use a little help putting things away.
Sure, Mom.
Amy, I'm sure your mom would like you home as well.
Yes, ma'am. I'll just help Chris close up the barn.
All right.
Amy helped Chris pull the barn doors shut and secure them by placing the long, skinny board in the metal brackets. Then they went over to the window and carefully hopped out. Chris grabbed the square board off the ground and placed it in front of the window. Amy used a rock to lightly hammer in the nail, holding it in place.
That should hold it.
Till our next adventure?
Till our next adventure.
Till their next adventure.